All right, here's today's math lesson. I want to ask you something. Do you remember how every time we have a brain break for jumping jacks, I say, give me 100 jumping jacks, but we don't count from 1, 2, 3, 4. We start with 5, 10, 15, 20. When we do that, when we start by 5 and just go to 10, 15, we call that skip counting, and we're skip counting by 5. Because we're adding 5. We're starting with 5 and we're adding 5 to each number. 5 plus 5 is 10, plus 5, 15, plus 5, 20. Our objective for today, I can tell and write time to the nearest 5 minutes. And you can probably tell we have 2 clocks right over here. That's right, we're working with time today. What do we already know about time? We know that time is told in hours and minutes, and there's 60 minutes in 1 hour. Remember that 1 hour equals 60 minutes. All right, let's look at solve and share. This is lesson 8-6, page 473. An airplane is due to arrive at 3:15. How can you show this time on the clock below? Well, what are we being asked to do in this question? We're being asked to draw 3:15 on our clock. You probably noticed that one hand is longer than the other. The long hand points at the minutes, and the short hand points at the hours. Follow along with your own clock if you have it. The other thing I want you to know, not every clock does this, so you need to memorize this, is that the numbers, the actual numbers written on the clock, stand for the hours. But when a long hand points that way, it's talking about minutes, which means, and not every clock shows this, but above the 12 is an imaginary 0 minutes, or 60, depending on which way you're counting. At 1 hour, we have an imaginary 5 minutes written as 05. At the second hour, an imaginary 10 minutes. At the third hour, an imaginary 15 minutes. 0, 5, 10, 15. We are adding by 5s, or skip counting by 5s. So what would be at the fourth hour? 15 plus 5, or 20 minutes. So again, how would we show 3:15 on a clock? With our long hand pointing towards 3, that imaginary 15, and the short hand pointing a little bit below the 3. They wouldn't be one on top of the other because the hour hand moves slowly while the minute hand moves faster. And this doesn't have it, but our seconds hand moves incredibly fast. So you would draw, and I'm going to use 2 different colors for hour and minute. I would draw a long hand pointing towards the 3 and a short hand also pointing towards the 3, but not on top of each other. It's important that you don't draw them on top of one another. So go ahead and do you understand, and then let's look at guided practice. Complete the clocks so that both clocks show the same time. Number 1, the digital clock shows us 6:45. So I would draw my hour hand, my shorter hour hand, pointing a little bit before 7. That means it's still 6. We're still in the 6th hour. And 45, well, when we count on, 45 minutes is at the 9 o'clock. So it would look something like this. Number 2, the digital clock shows us 3:25. So on the analog clock, well, I would put the shorthand around where the 3 is, and the longhand, go ahead and count on from 12 until you get to 25, which would be at the 5. So your big hand would be pointing at 5. Now on number 3, they show us that the analog clock, the hour hand is pointing at 8, and the long hand, the minute hand, is pointing at 12. When we have the minute hand pointing straight up at 12, that means it's 0 minutes, which means it would be 8 o'clock. And you would write that like this. Go ahead and do number 4 guided practice on your own, and then go to independent practice.